There is a quiet ache that many of us carry through life. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand attention. Yet, it lingers in the spaces between our smiles, in the stillness of sleepless nights, in the moments when we wonder why happiness always seems to slip through our fingers like water. Perhaps you have felt it too. That sense that something is not quite right. That despite having so much, there is an emptiness that refuses to be filled. That no matter how hard you try to control your circumstances, life continues to surprise you in ways that leave you feeling powerless, frustrated, or deeply sad. What if the very things causing your suffering are not the circumstances themselves, but the truths you have been unwilling to face? What if peace has been waiting for you all along, hidden behind the walls of resistance you have built without even realizing it? Today, we explore 5 profound truths that the Buddha and countless wisdom traditions have pointed toward for thousands of years. These truths may feel uncomfortable at first. They may challenge beliefs you have held tightly. But within their acceptance lies a freedom more profound than anything the external world could ever offer. So take a gentle breath. Let your shoulders soften. And open your heart to what follows. Not as a lecture to endure, but as a conversation with your own deeper knowing. Part 1. Why true happiness can only be found within. Buddhist wisdom on inner peace. There is a common dream that many of us share. It whispers that happiness will arrive when the right person enters our lives. When the promotion comes. When the house is bigger. When the children succeed. When the world finally arranges itself according to our preferences. And so we wait. We chase. We reach for one thing after another, believing that the next achievement, the next relationship, the next experience will finally complete us. But have you noticed something peculiar? The happiness that arrives through external sources never quite stays. It visits like a guest, and then it leaves. The new car becomes ordinary. The excitement of the relationship settles into routine. The achievement fades into memory, replaced by the anxiety of what must be accomplished next. This is not a flaw in the things we pursue. It is a fundamental truth about the nature of happiness itself. The Buddha once encountered a wealthy merchant who, despite possessing immense riches, lived in a state of constant anxiety. The merchant asked the Buddha how he could find lasting peace. The Buddha replied with a simple question: if you place a lamp inside a room, does the light come from the room or from the lamp itself? The merchant answered that the light, of course, comes from the lamp. And so it is with happiness, the Buddha said. You have been searching for light in the rooms you enter, when all along, the lamp has been within you. This teaching is not about rejecting the beautiful things life offers. It is not about refusing love, success, or meaningful connections. Rather, it is about understanding that these things can add to a happiness that already exists within, but they cannot create it from nothing. When happiness is treated as something to be found outside, there is a constant vulnerability. The mood depends on whether others behave correctly. Peace depends on whether circumstances cooperate. Joy becomes conditional, fragile, always at risk. But when the source of happiness is recognized as internal, something remarkable shifts. Relationships become richer because they are approached from wholeness rather than neediness. Success becomes more meaningful because it is no longer carrying the impossible burden of providing fulfillment. Life becomes lighter because the desperate search finally ends. Consider a tree. Its roots draw nourishment from deep within the earth. When storms come, the tree may bend, but it does not break because its foundation is secure. A tree that tried to draw its strength only from the wind would be at the mercy of every passing breeze. In the same way, a heart rooted in its own inner source of peace can weather the storms of life without being destroyed by them. This is not a destination reached overnight. It is a practice, a gradual turning inward, a patient cultivation of the garden within. But every moment spent nurturing this inner foundation is a moment of building true freedom. Part 2. Embracing Life's Uncertainty. Buddhist teachings on letting go of control. There is a story that has traveled through many cultures, though its wisdom remains timeless. A farmer's horse ran away one day. His neighbors came to offer their sympathy. "What terrible luck," they said. The farmer simply replied, "Perhaps." The next week, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors came again, this time to celebrate. "What wonderful fortune," they exclaimed. The farmer again replied, "Perhaps." Soon after, the farmer's son attempted to ride one of the wild horses and fell, breaking his leg. The neighbors returned with their condolences. "How unfortunate," they lamented. "Perhaps," the farmer said. The following month, military officers came to the village to draft young men into the army. The farmer's son was passed over because of his broken leg. And so the story continued, each seeming misfortune leading to something beneficial, each apparent blessing carrying unforeseen consequences. This parable points toward a truth that the mind often resists. Life does not follow the scripts written for it. There is a natural tendency to create expectations about how things should unfold. The career should progress in a certain direction. The relationship should develop according to plan. The body should remain healthy. The people loved should stay forever. These expectations are not inherently wrong. They arise from a mind trying to create safety and predictability in a world that offers neither guarantee. But suffering multiplies when these expectations become demands. When the mind insists that life must conform to its preferences, every deviation becomes a source of pain. The unexpected job loss becomes a catastrophe rather than a redirection. The relationship's end becomes a failure rather than a completion. The plans that crumble become evidence that something has gone terribly wrong. The Buddha spoke often of attachment as a root of suffering. But this attachment is not simply to things or people. It is an attachment to how we believe things should be. Imagine holding a handful of sand. When the hand remains open and relaxed, the sand rests peacefully in the palm. But the moment the fist clenches in an attempt to hold on tightly, the sand begins to slip through the fingers. Life behaves similarly. The tighter the grip of expectation, the more life seems to escape. This does not mean abandoning all plans or giving up on dreams. It means holding them gently. It means making an effort while releasing the demand for specific outcomes. It means dancing with life rather than trying to force it into a choreography it never agreed to follow. There is profound freedom in this surrender. Not a passive resignation, but an active acceptance that allows for movement, adaptation, and flow. When the need for life to be a certain way dissolves, what remains is the ability to respond to what is, rather than suffering over what is not. The river does not suffer when it encounters a rock. It simply flows around it, continuing its journey toward the sea. The water does not insist that the rock should not be there. It accepts the rock's presence and adjusts accordingly. Perhaps the greatest peace available is the peace of no longer fighting reality. Part 3. Understanding why people hurt you. Buddhist perspective on compassion and detachment. There is a wound that many carry quietly. It is the wound of being mistreated by others. The harsh words spoken by a parent, the betrayal of a trusted friend, the cruelty of a stranger, the indifference of someone who was supposed to care. These experiences leave marks on the heart. And often, the deepest pain comes not from the actions themselves, but from the story created around them. There must be something wrong with me. I must not be worthy of love. I must deserve this treatment somehow. But what if this interpretation, however natural it feels, is fundamentally mistaken? There is an ancient teaching that offers a different perspective. It suggests that how others treat you reveals almost nothing about your value and almost everything about their inner world. Consider a person who speaks with constant criticism. This criticism may feel deeply personal when directed at you. But observe that same person in other settings, and the pattern reveals itself. They criticize everyone. They criticize circumstances. They criticize themselves. The criticism is not a response to you. It is a response to their own inner pain, projected outward onto whatever happens to be in front of them. The Buddha once encountered a man who hurled insults at him relentlessly. The Buddha listened calmly without reacting. Finally, the man grew tired and demanded to know why his words had no effect. The Buddha asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you decline to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man answered, "To the one who offered it." "And so it is with your anger," the Buddha replied. "You have offered it to me, but I have not accepted it. Therefore, it remains yours." This teaching is not about becoming passive in the face of mistreatment. Boundaries remain important. Protecting oneself from harm is still necessary. But there is a difference between taking appropriate action and taking the mistreatment into the heart as evidence of personal unworthiness. When someone acts from anger, they are revealing their relationship with anger. When someone acts from fear, they are showing their struggle with fear. When someone acts from insecurity, they are displaying wounds that have nothing to do with those around them. This understanding is not meant to excuse harmful behavior. It is meant to liberate the one who has been harmed from carrying an unnecessary burden. If these words are resonating with something within you, perhaps stirring a recognition or offering a moment of comfort, consider gently tapping the like button. And if you have not yet joined this community, subscribing to Buddha Coha means you will receive more stories and teachings designed to bring peace to your journey. In the comments below, feel free to share which of these truths speaks most deeply to your experience. Your words may be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Returning to the teaching, there is a practice that emerges from this understanding. It is the practice of compassionate detachment. When observing someone's hurtful behavior, instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" the question becomes, what must be happening within them to cause them to act this way? This shift does not require condoning the behavior. It does not require maintaining harmful relationships. But it does open the door to a kind of peace that revenge or resentment could never provide. The heart that truly understands that others' actions flow from their own inner state stops taking everything so personally. It stops being tossed about by every word and glance. It finds a stable center from which to observe human behavior without being destroyed by it. And perhaps most beautifully, this understanding often awakens compassion. Not a weak compassion that allows mistreatment, but a strong compassion that recognizes suffering in another and refuses to add to it by responding with more suffering. Part 4. The Buddhist Teaching on Impermanence, finding peace through acceptance of loss. There is a story told of a woman named Kisa Gautami who lived during the time of the Buddha. She had a young son whom she loved more than anything in the world. When the boy died suddenly from illness, Kisa Gautami was overcome with grief so intense that she refused to accept his death. She carried his small body through the streets, begging for medicine that might bring him back to life. People thought she had lost her mind. But one kind soul directed her to the Buddha, saying that perhaps he possessed the medicine she sought. When Kisa Gautami approached the Buddha and made her desperate request, he did not turn her away. He said simply, "Bring me a mustard seed from any home that has never known death, and I will help you." Filled with hope, Kisa Gautami went from house to house, asking for a mustard seed. Every family was willing to give one. But when she asked whether death had ever visited their home, the answer was always the same. A father had passed. A grandmother. A child. A spouse. A sibling. There was not a single home untouched by loss. By the end of her journey, Kisa Gautami's heart had opened to a profound truth. Death was not a punishment visited upon her alone. Impermanence was woven into the very fabric of existence. Her grief remained, but the isolation and resistance dissolved. She returned to the Buddha, not with a mustard seed, but with a readiness to learn how to live with loss rather than against it. This teaching of impermanence, what the Buddha called anicca, is perhaps the most fundamental truth in Buddhist philosophy. Everything that arises will also pass away. Every form will change. Every gathering will end in parting. Every life will end in death. The mind instinctively recoils from this truth. It wants to hold on. It wants to preserve. It wants to freeze beautiful moments in time and keep them forever unchanged. But notice what happens when this resistance operates. The fear of losing something beautiful prevents full enjoyment of it while it is here. The knowledge that a loved one will someday die creates anxiety that shadows the time spent together. The awareness that youth will fade turns aging into a source of constant suffering. What if there is another way? The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of impermanence not as an enemy, but as a friend. He suggested that without impermanence, life itself would be impossible. If a seed did not cease being a seed, it could never become a flower. If a child did not cease being a child, they could never become an adult. If yesterday did not pass away, today could never arrive. Impermanence is not a flaw in the design of existence. It is the very mechanism that allows for growth, renewal, and transformation. When this truth is truly accepted, something remarkable happens to the experience of loss. The pain of endings remains because love makes the heart tender. But the suffering that comes from believing things should not end begins to dissolve. There is a grief that honors what has passed while remaining open to what comes next. There is a sadness that does not become bitterness. There is a letting go that is not abandonment, but release. And perhaps most preciously, when impermanence is embraced, each moment becomes more vivid. The sunset is more beautiful because it will not last. The laughter of children is more precious because they will not always be small. The presence of loved ones is more cherished because time with them is finite. Rather than casting a shadow over life, the awareness of impermanence can illuminate it with a brightness that permanence could never offer. Part 5. How Your Thoughts Create Suffering, Buddhist Mind Training for Inner Peace. There is a teaching that the Buddha offered that has profound implications for understanding suffering. He spoke of 2 arrows. The first arrow represents the painful events that occur in life. Illness arrives. Relationships end. Plans fail. Losses accumulate. These are the unavoidable arrows that come with being alive in a changing world. The second arrow is the self-inflicted one. It is the mental response to the first arrow. It is the story created around the pain, the resistance, the why me, the catastrophizing, the projection of present pain into an imagined future of endless suffering. The Buddha observed that while the first arrow may be unavoidable, the second arrow is optional. And remarkably, the second arrow often causes far more suffering than the first. Consider a simple example. A critical comment is received. This is the first arrow. It stings. There is a moment of pain. But then the mind takes over. They must not respect me. No one respects me. I have never been good enough. I will never be good enough. Everyone probably thinks this way about me. My entire life has been a failure. What began as a single critical comment has now become a catastrophic narrative about unworthiness and failure. The original pain has multiplied 100-fold, not because of what happened, but because of the mind's interpretation. This pattern operates constantly, often below the level of awareness. The mind creates stories about what events mean, and then suffers from the stories as if they were reality. But here is the liberating truth: thoughts are not facts. They are mental events. They arise, they linger, and they pass away, just like everything else subject to impermanence. A thought about being unworthy does not make unworthiness true. A thought about a hopeless future does not make hopelessness accurate. A thought about being alone does not mean genuine isolation. There is a practice that emerges from this understanding. It is the practice of observing thoughts without fusing with them. Rather than being the thought, becoming the awareness that notices the thought. In meditation traditions, this is sometimes called watching the clouds pass across the sky. The sky itself remains unchanged by the clouds that move through it. Dark clouds come, and the sky is still sky. Bright clouds come, and the sky is still sky. The clouds are temporary visitors, not the permanent nature of the sky. The mind works similarly. Thoughts arise and pass like weather patterns. The awareness that observes them remains constant, unaffected by the content of any particular thought. When this observing capacity strengthens, thoughts lose their hypnotic power. A fearful thought is seen as just a thought, not a command to panic. An angry thought is recognized as a mental event, not a mandate for action. A sad thought is allowed to exist without being believed as the ultimate truth. This is not about suppressing thoughts or pretending they do not exist. It is about changing the relationship with them, holding them lightly, seeing them clearly, allowing them to pass without building elaborate structures around them. A Zen story illustrates this beautifully. Two monks were walking together when they encountered a woman struggling to cross a muddy road. The older monk picked her up and carried her across, setting her down safely on the other side. The monks continued their journey in silence. Hours later, the younger monk could no longer contain himself. "How could you carry that woman?" he demanded. "We are not supposed to touch women." The older monk smiled gently. "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The younger monk had spent the entire journey carrying the woman in his mind, even though she was long gone. His suffering came not from the event itself, but from his mental attachment to it. How many old grudges are still being carried? How many past mistakes are still being replayed? How many imagined futures are being suffered in advance? The invitation is not to stop thinking. The invitation is to stop being imprisoned by thoughts, to recognize their nature, to hold them with gentleness and wisdom, and to discover the vast, peaceful awareness that exists beneath the surface chatter of the mind. Closing, a gentle invitation to walk the path of peace. These 5 truths are not easy to hear. They ask for something precious to be released. The belief that happiness will come from outside. The expectation that life should follow plans. The conviction that others' treatment defines worth. The resistance to endings. The fusion with every thought that arises. Letting go of these familiar patterns can feel like losing something important. And in a sense, it is. What is being lost is a kind of innocence about how the world works. But what is gained is immeasurably greater. What is gained is freedom from the endless cycle of grasping and aversion that keeps the heart in turmoil. What is gained is a steady peace that does not depend on circumstances cooperating. What is gained is the ability to be fully present for this one precious life, rather than perpetually waiting for conditions to improve before living truly begins. This is not a destination that is reached once and then maintained forever. It is a path, a practice, a gradual unfolding. There will be days when these truths are forgotten, and old patterns return with full force. There will be moments of slipping back into resistance, reactivity, and suffering. This is not failure. This is simply being human. The practice is not about perfection. It is about returning, again and again, to awareness, to acceptance, to peace. Like a path through a forest, it may twist and turn. There may be moments of losing the way. But each step taken in the direction of truth is a step toward liberation. May these words serve as a gentle companion on that journey. May they return to memory in moments when they are most needed. May they soften the harsh edges of experience and illuminate the peace that has been waiting within all along. Thank you for spending this time in reflection. If these teachings have touched something within you, sharing this video might offer the same gift to someone else who is quietly struggling. Subscribing to Buddha Coha ensures that you will continue to receive these messages of peace and wisdom whenever you need them. Take a moment now to breathe deeply, to feel your feet on the ground, and to carry whatever has resonated with you into the rest of your day. You are not alone on this path. You never have been. And the peace you seek is closer than you know.